Stalin was conducting the Great Purge between 1936 and 1938. But 4 years before the Great Purge, the Great Famine of Ukraine occurred again. It was definitely a tragic tragedy of genocide. People didn't know about this tragedy. It was not revealed until the Soviet Union was about to collapse in 1988. A history magazine in Ukraine conducted a detailed report. Later, Ukraine's independence. The official confirmed the matter. In the History Museum in Ukraine, a special museum has been opened. Let's introduce how miserable this famine is. Stalin's Great Purge caught more than 3 million people. But this famine killed nearly 4 million people. So there is no hatred in this world without any grievances. There is definitely a reason for the hatred between Ukraine and Russia. Ukraine was originally a big grain silo in Europe. The black soil is particularly fertile. Ukraine can almost support the entire Soviet Union. This caused a great famine. What's the reason? When the Soviet Union was first born, its economy is on the verge of collapse. Lenin has no choice. Finally, Lenin came up with a new economic policy. It is said that food tax can be used instead of grain collection system. Books are just farmers, you can pay taxes. You can control the land by yourself. But after Stalin took power, Lenin's method has not been continued, because Stalin thought, the country needs to be strong, mainly looking at industry. What does a country farm? It depends on heavy industry. Heavy industry is stronger. Haven't all aircraft, cannons, and missiles been built? Then, can you walk sideways just by going out? Everyone calls you when they see you. Anyone who doesn't accept it will do it. That's really strong. So the Soviet Union made a bunch of 5-year plans. It must also be strictly implemented as planned. Let's take note. It's strict. If you can't play, you need to spank. But the Soviet Union was poor and indifferent at that time. What to implement the 5-year plan? It wasn't popular to sell oil and energy at that time. Stalin also wants to think about it. What else is valuable in the house? Isn't there some surplus food left? He can only sell the food himself. Buy industrial equipment from developed countries. You said you can exchange wheat for machine. How much does it take to manage enough? No way. In order to increase the export of food, the Soviet government can only find Ukraine. In the end, this field is the most fattest. Then find out the death of Ukraine. Implement a predatory food collection. Because the government stipulates the price is too low, many Ukrainian farmers are reluctant to hand over their food. Government can't collect the food. Then there is no way to export and make money. No foreign exchange, no money to buy machines and technology. Then this heavy industry cannot be developed. The dream of an industrial power is about to be shattered. Stalin saw that you were disobedient, right? This is really treating me as a kind father, right? Then don't blame me for being simple and rude. The central government has directly established grain collection teams. Forced acquisition. You have to hand over if you don't hand over. When is the harvest of agriculture in Ukraine? All can still deal with it. After all, the field is too fat. But in the year of production cuts, only hand over reserve grain. But the central government's indicators have not been lowered. In addition to paying grain, farmers also have to pay various taxes. Can't stand it anymore. But the central government has a dead order. The Ukrainian government can only implement it. The slogan at that time was, "Who opposes the collective farm? Who is the anti-Soviet UEI regime?" I'll just give you an excuse. The farmers were forced to hand over their land and livestock. Join this collective farm. That's all Sumers. They are all from the party and the state. Central leadership of the Communist Party of the Soviet Union. It also depends on the central government giving itself such a difficult task. That must be true. Resolutely implement it. It depends on Ukrainian farmers to complete these 5-year plans. So to complete the task, the Ukrainian Communist Party has taken a series of measures. Martial food collection. Closed all state-owned stores. Confiscated all grain reserves. Private food transactions are also prohibited until the last bit of grain in the farmer's hands is squeezed dry. One of the major characteristics of Stalin is that he has great prejudice against agriculture. All resources are given to industry. The farmers are very miserable, especially the rich peasants. Who gave you surplus food? You are the one who harvests. This campaign to eliminate rich peasants is fully launched. The Soviet Central Committee also came from Russia. Scatter a large number of workers to Ukraine to suppress the rich peasants. Ukrainian rich peasants have their property deprived. People are exiled. 850,000 Ukrainians forced to move to these bitter and cold places in Siberia. Many people died on the road. In this movement, the rich peasant class is very desperate. What else can the farmers do? He can't resist. Instead of fighting desperately, enjoy it. Something surprising happened. Many Ukrainian rich peasants started eating steak every day. It's so crispy on the outside and tender on the inside. But what about eating steak? It tastes the same as the one I gave you before beheading my head. Everyone is already desperate. No hope to survive. They can think of the best resistance. It's just that my own agricultural facilities have been destroyed. Slaughtered the ox at home. After all, you can have a few meals by yourself. Is it better than handing over to the treasury? This situation continues to deteriorate. The farmers finally had to start gnawing on the bark and leaves. This famine lasted 22 months. People starved to death everywhere in the countryside of Ukraine. Since this is the case, then you must report to the upper hand. The first secretary of the Communist Party of Ukraine personally reported to Stalin about the tragic situation of famine in Ukraine. Even the commander of the Kiev military region took action personally. Please help with some food. They thought Stalin would always give this little face. But Stalin's heart and thoughts is not really fleshy. Stalin waved his hand. What a big deal. Can you be the best if you endure hardships? Let Ukrainian brothers hold on. All the grain collected by the central government must be exported. Forex exchange. Don't consider things like allocating food and disaster relief. All calls from outside the world have been called. I heard that your Ukrainian famine is very serious. Humanitarian assistance can be provided internationally. The Soviet government quickly refused. Our socialist construction is so vigorous. Where does the famine come from? Ukraine is a grain-producing area. How could there be a famine? Stop talking nonsense. Stalin ordered. Hurry up and block the news. Cut off road and rail traffic. Don't let residents escape. So Ukraine, a fertile place. It has become a human anti-hunger competition where everyone grabs bark and eats it. As the disaster intensifies, more and more people die. There are many tragedies in the world where people cannibalize people. The sightseeing is recorded in the Russian archives. Thousands of incidents of eating one's own children. Not much time passed. Many farms have become unmanned villages. The central government saw that this was a good situation. There is no food, but enough people. So the central government conceals the truth. Immigration from Russia to Ukrainian uninhabited villages. But many immigrants come to Ukraine and see. This is not a village. This is a village of dead people. So many immigrants fled Ukraine. This time of famine. It's a genocide for Ukraine. Among the 5 million people who died in Ukraine this year, there are 2.9 million people who starved to death. The whole famine in the end. More people were starved to death than those shot during the Great Purge. However, all this could have been completely avoided. It's completely organized and planned. The human-made tragedy that deprives Ukrainian residents. From then on, Ukraine and Russia are irreconcilable. This hatred has been deeply rooted.